Hey, Scott.
Hey, Aaron, how you doing?
Good. Are you ready to drink some beer?
I am always ready to drink some beer.
All right, let's do this. Welcome to the Cascadian Beer Podcast. Slightly different episode today. I had the opportunity to share some beers from another regional beer podcast, WNY Brews. Scott reached out to me a couple months ago and said, hey, I listened to your podcast, and I do a regional beer podcast as well. And after a bit of a conversation and back and forth, we decided, why not try each other's beers from our regions of where we do our podcasts from? So here's Scott trying some Cascadian beers that I sent him, and myself trying some Western New York beers from Buffalo. Here we are. I'm Aaron.
And I'm Scott.
And this is a little weird. I must say, I've been thinking about this, and I'm like, this is pretty weird. We're getting on a Skype call, and we're just going to drink beer.
Oh, I mean, well, yeah. What else are you supposed to do over Skype?
Yeah, I'm sure people have done stranger things over Skype.
That's right. Depends on how heavy the beer is. We'll see what happens later.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, all I could say is, so we do have a video going for us in the taping of this episode, but thankfully we're not releasing this video or recording it because I got a face for radio. So
and I'm still in my school clothes. I didn't put on my makeup tonight.
No, maybe the next episode.
That's right.
Maybe
we'll
the
go
next
full video on that one.
Yeah, well. And by the way, if I'd actually like to get some feedback if people are listening to this and they make it to the end of the episode, what they thought of this, because this is a bit of an experiment. So they can email me at thetap@cascadian.beer or tweet me at Cascadian Beer. How about you?
At Scott at WNYBrews.com, Facebook /WNY Brews, and Twitter at WNY Brews.
There we go. And you know what? We didn't actually introduce ourselves. How about you go ahead and start? Who are you and what do you do?
Sounds good. So my name is Scott. I'm a home brewer. I do a podcast called West New York Brews, which we talk about the regional beers here in Buffalo. Try to focus on the brewers or the brewery owners, really highlight Buffalo beers. So not necessarily the actual beer, but the beer community more than anything. How about you?
Yeah, my name's Aaron. I do the Cascadian Beer Podcast, a regional beer podcast as well. Yeah, much like you, I don't focus on the actual beer itself. I go to these breweries and get the backstory because I had a strange experience a few years ago when I went to a brew pub that opened up and they had none of their beer on tap. So I just got a bottle of something out of the fridge and I saw the brewmaster there, an owner, brewing in the back. So I poked my head around. I'm like, hey man, how you doing? He's like, hey, great. Yeah, just brewing. And I'm like, cool. So how long you been brewing? Oh, first batch right here.
Nice.
Oh, when did you start home brewing? Oh, first batch right here. How'd you learn how to brew? Oh, I read a book. Ah, okay. How
Depends
you
on the book, I guess.
Yeah, how you financing this thing? And he said, oh, I remortgaged the house. Wife's not that happy. And I went, wow, that's a very crazy story. So that one's just been kind of sitting in the back of my mind. And I kind of want to, because I do that now. Whenever I go to a brewery, I talk to the people there that run it and get the backstory. And I've met some great, interesting people and had some amazing beer so far. That's it. But you can check me out at Cascadian.beer. That's CASCADIAN.beer. So that's my podcast. And
that's great.
We connected through a Facebook group called The Podcaster's Secret Weapon.
Yeah. We can't share the secret weapon. We can't divulge what that is.
No. But you can go to thepodcastersecretweapon.com. I figured we should give them a plug.
Yeah, right? Absolutely.
So thanks, Luis and Kamala, for doing the Podcaster's Secret Weapon. Yeah, so we're on that Facebook group. I got to give a shout out to Roger Nairn from Man Talks Podcast, who got me involved in it.
Excellent.
Yeah, so they do a thing there where everybody shares their podcasts, and you listen to it, you write each other in the group a review, and I posted mine up there, and you reached out to me and said, hey, I do a regional beer podcast as well.
Yeah, right. It seems like a weird thing to say.
Yeah.
Like it's a regional beer podcast, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course. I understand exactly what you're talking about.
Yes. So then we got on a call. We said, well, why don't we send each other beer? Why not?
You mean meet in the center of the country and exchange beer in person and then drive it back?
Yes.
That's what I did.
I had somebody else do that for me.
Yeah.
So we have each other's beers from the coast here, and we're going to try them in this episode.
Do you want to get right into it?
I think we should, but we haven't decided who's going to go first. I think we should do this one at a time.
I need beer to drink. So if you
yes.
want to talk first, I need to start.
Well, okay. So here's the thing, though. We agreed that we'd send each other 3 beers. Now, I know I'm in Canada and you're in the States. I know there's that whole kilometers, miles thing. So you ended up sending me 4 beers.
Okay, so here's the reason. I picked up 12 beers, so I'm looking at all 12. Like, what am I going to send? What represents Buffalo? And I'm thinking of it as a one-off shot. I need to give a good representation of what Buffalo is. And then, as I'm packing the box with the 3, it occurred to me, what if he's not sending 12-ounce bottles? I can't short him on this, so I'm going to stuff a 4th in there, and I'm surprised that nothing came broken because that box was stuffed by the end that I handed off to the other guy, the guy in the middle of the country. But it was absolutely stuffed, and then I'm thinking, so what, like 22 ounces, 22 ounces, 22 ounces, times the 4, 12 ounces. One of them I think was a 16-ounce can, so I'm like, oh, that's at least a little bit closer. And even if we only talk about 3, he still has another beer.
But, size doesn't matter.
That's what they say.
Yeah. A beer is a beer. But
first of all, you did send large beers, which is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Because here I am alone.
So am I.
And I want to get through them.
Well, no, we're together on Skype.
That's right.
This is the little virtual connection here to beer. So we're going to open these one at a time. I actually have an order for you.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to flip a coin. We're going to do this the gentleman's way here. I got a coin here. Heads is Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II there. Now look at this. This is an authentic Canadian quarter. It's a special one. Tails is a full-colored Canadian flag. Look at that.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
I'm going to flip this thing. Call it in the air.
Heads? I didn't
Heads
see the flip.
is.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay, well, heads it is.
I saw you do the motion. I'm like, I didn't see the coin. This Skype. So do I choose or do I go first?
I'm going to say let's do the Steel and Oak Red Pilsner.
Okay.
Now, Steel and Oak, I talked to them in episode 4 of my podcast. They do kind of traditional German brews, but kind of hybrid German brews where they are taking various styles and mashing them together. So they do like a black lager as part of their flagship. The Red Pilsner is a flagship. They just did a collaboration beer with a German brewery where they superheated rocks and did the traditional lagering process.
Nice. I'm hoping this doesn't get rid of you on Skype, but it's very important that I untap this beer.
Right. You can do that on the desktop.
But I got to take a picture of it.
Oh, right.
With my phone. I'm pretty sure I'm still on Skype. So I'm going to untap this, and you can find my pictures of the beer so you get an idea of the color, people listening, and my overall impression of it at untap.com/user/WNY Brews.
Why don't you paint the listeners a word picture?
A word? I'm not good with word pictures. If you've listened to any of the episodes of West New York Brews, I would say this is a dark amber skewing towards red. It says Red Pilsner.
Yeah.
This is a similar color to an IPA, to like a Sierra Nevada IPA.
On the description here, it says a light copper.
A light copper is a really good... if I had the descriptive capabilities of this label, light copper might be what I would say.
It's a full-bodied Pilsner with a floral aroma with some notes of lavender and honey.
Notes of lavender. I shouldn't have heard that. Spoiled it in my head now.
Uh-oh.
See if I can get the lavender and honey. That's all I need. I just needed the photo. I'll untap it afterwards.
All right.
So how long has Steel and Oak been around?
Just over 2 years.
That's really good. I'm a huge fan of Pilsners, and you're not adding strange flavors to it by changing the color. It's still really clean tasting. It still tastes like a Pilsner. I'm going to say it's a little bit more breadiness to the malt than a typical Pilsner. I wouldn't say roasty at all, but slightly more grainy, but not in a mouthfeel, in a flavor profile. I would drink a lot of this, and luckily at 5%, I could. Like, this is something I would drink as a go-to. Like, I have a couple of go-tos in Buffalo that if there's nothing new that I've never had, it'd be like, well, give me the red Pilsner then. All right, do you want to go to the first one, or?
Yeah, I'll go to the first one. So I'm picking the Fall Festival.
The Fall Festival with a lager from Ellicotville. Ellicotville is a small ski town about half an hour outside of Buffalo. It is the birthplace of Ellicotville Brewing and, in a way, Southern Tier Brewing. Because Southern Tier is out of Lakewood, but Finn, who started Southern Tier with his wife Sarah, met at Ellicotville as Finn was the first head brewer at Ellicotville when Ellicotville opened in 1995.
All right. Southern Tier, I know. I've actually had a lot of Southern Tier, surprisingly, out here on the West Coast.
And that's why I wanted to send the Ellicotville. Because the Ellicotville is almost quite literally the older brother of Southern Tier. But Southern Tier, right from their very beginning, had tried to be a distributing brewery. So they went straight for distribution. And still, Southern Tier will brew Ellicotville's things to be distributed. So the quick story, the guy who started Ellicotville, and I want to say the guy who started Southern Tier, I want to say also started Ellicotville, the father, the older gentleman, owns a ski resort here in Buffalo, Holiday Valley. And they started Ellicotville, and Finn came in, the owner of Southern Tier, before owning Southern Tier, as the head brewer, brewed here, then went off to, I think, Chicago. He met his wife at Ellicotville, and his wife's sister is married to the owner of Ellicotville. So they're all friends. It's all one big family.
And I must say, this is a very, very gold kind of color to it.
It's an Octoberfest, the Marzen.
Yep. It's so spot on. Oktoberfest. It's really great. Very, very drinkable. 5.6%.
I can't let the rest of this bottle go to waste. I don't know what I'm going to do. I was just thinking I can cap this and then recarbonate it in the next day or two and be happy.
Right.
I might do that.
You going to share it with somebody?
Probably.
I take it to because you're a part of a homebrewers club, right?
Yes. Yeah, the Das Hausbrauers von Buffalo.
All right. So first beer. We're not sponsored by Untapped, but do you want to give an Untapped rating for it?
Oh, I would give it a 3.75 to 4. I'm getting a little bit of roastiness on the tongue here too. It's staying there a little long.
Definitely have it again, right?
Oh yeah, definitely would have it again.
Jordan and Eric were great to chat with in that episode. So that's Steel and Oak Brewing from New Westminster in British Columbia, Canada.
Excellent.
Episode 4 on my podcast. And have you spoke to these guys?
No, I've never talked to Ellicotville in a formal sense.
Okay. Need to get that happening, my friend.
Yeah, right? The other people I sent you, though, we've spoken to.
All right. Shall we move on to number 2?
Sure. Am I guessing? I'm guessing
Daggerad.
Amber is next. Yeah.
Yes. So Daggerad Brewing from Burnaby, BC in Canada.
Ooh.
They do Belgian-inspired beers. This guy was backpacking many years ago in Thailand and met some Belgians there.
Huh.
And really enjoyed his time with them. And ended up going to where they lived in Belgium a number of times. Really loved Daggerad Platz, which is this little public square with a bunch of breweries in it, some outdoor seating, a little park and everything. And that's what inspired him to come back and make beer. And so he got into home brewing to try and recreate these beers.
That's really nice. I like this a lot. The aroma is great. I can't even pick up what's going on in here. It smells like a Belgian ale for sure. It tastes like a Belgian. It's light. Yeah, a little bit of banana to it. A little bit of hops to it too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm reading it here. Oh, perfect. Quaffable enough to drink at a hockey game.
There you go. How Canadian is that?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Well, we're a hockey town here in Buffalo for sure. We have 2 teams and the Sabres are huge.
So, Daggerad Brewing has been open a couple of years as well. They're known for their Daggerad Blonde. When I was there, it's a tiny little tasting room. There's only like 5 seats in there. It's a tiny little. But they're opening up like an actual tasting lounge next door, hopefully by the end of the year. But you can order the stuff in the bottle or have it on draft as well. I believe what Ben does when he brews is he puts half it in the bottle, half in the draft, or some kind of ratio that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I had the blonde in the bottle next to the blonde on draft. 2 completely different beers. It's amazing how they age differently in those 2 compartments. I thought I'd send you the amber just for something different.
Well, if you were going to the second beer, going towards the Irish Red, that would be from Hamburg, who is coming up on their 3-year anniversary. Buffalo saw a boom in brewing in the past 3 years. So Hamburg, even though it's only 3 years old, is probably one of the oldest around here. Out of the 22 or 23 breweries that we have right now, most of them are younger than Hamburg, with the exception, of course, of Ellicotville, which I don't know if I would count it as a Buffalo brewery because it's Ellicotville, which is, again, half an hour to 45 minutes out, depending on where you are. Same with Southern Tier, which is, an hour out in Lakewood. And then once you get into Buffalo, almost in order, you have Flying Bison, which you'll see in a little while. You have Pearl Street, which is not distributing, so it's not a distributing brewery, it's just a brew pub. So you didn't get their stuff. And Community Beer Works. And then Hamburg 3 years ago, and I bet I'm missing a couple in between, but not too many in between. Resurgence just had their 2-year, and we're coming up on Hamburg's 3-year. Hamburg is just down the street from me. I live in Hamburg, and I would call it my local brewery, although it's on a road that's not extremely walkable. So it's kind of a busy road.
Have you written to your local council to put in sidewalks?
That'd be great.
Well, I think our listeners should write your local town council.
Yeah, there you go.
Say that that infrastructure needs to be upgraded and that sidewalks need to go in between your house and the brewery. Nowhere else. Just your house.
Or just like in Belgium, we can do a pipeline.
Yeah, the beer pipeline.
From Hamburg into the village of Hamburg.
Right.
Because I live in the village of Hamburg, and they are just outside of the village of Hamburg. They are in an absolutely beautiful building. That's a lie. From the outside, it looks like nothing. From the outside, it looks like a building. It's in good shape. But once you get on the inside, it's all wood. It's really nice. It's train themed without having train memorabilia everywhere, if that makes sense. Because you know how like you walk into an Applebee's and there's stuff everywhere?
Yeah.
This is train themed with class is what it is. You've got, wood and everything, huge fireplace in the middle, and then a couple of model trains in display cases around the outside because it's connected to a model train room that one of the brewery founder owners' relatives, depending on who you're talking about, because it's a father and son team. So the father's brother, the son's uncle, works on the trains. It's a huge train layout. It's all O scale, or it might even be G scale, garden scale. I think it's garden scale. Either way, my son loves trains, so he loves going to Hamburg Brewery. And he'll ask, Daddy, when can we go to the brewery again? Like, anytime you want, son. We'll go to the brewery.
Yes.
The family used to own a cheese company around here, Sorrento Cheese. Sold that out. I think that was a nationwide company too, Sorrento. I don't know if you have Sorrento cheese out there.
Don't remember.
They sold that, and then the son was looking for something to do, opened the brewery. Almost immediately was packed from people just looking for a local brewery, especially from Hamburg.
Right.
And being such a beautiful place, they decorate it really nice for holidays. They have a great patio. And on a day like today, I can imagine it was absolutely packed in there.
This Irish Red from Hamburg, lovely, lovely color on this. Like a deep copper.
It's a good example of an Irish Red.
This is just excellent.
If I were trying to convince somebody, or if I were trying to really knock somebody's socks off, like you've never seen this before, the Irish Red is not what I would send them.
Right.
You know what I mean? But if you're looking for an Irish Red, the Hamburg Irish Red is a phenomenal example of it.
Right.
And our water around here in Buffalo is great for brown ales and Irish Reds and that.
Okay. This Irish Red is pretty excellent. It's a little smoky. There's like a little bit of a smoke to it.
I don't think they're using any actual smoked malts in there.
No. But it's like there's like a little something.
Okay. Well, Hamburg is a farm brewery and will do what they can locally. They host Farm to Pint every year and have good relationships with the two maltsters that I had on episode 28. So there's a good chance that a lot of that is local. Local malt, they're growing hops at Hamburg. I don't think they're using them, although I could be wrong.
Yeah, this is delicious. I'd have this all day, every day. And it tastes like it's a lot heavier of a beer, but it's only 4.8. Just delicious. Thanks for that. All right. Well, are you ready for 3 yet? Or
I'm ready for 3.
Okay.
Global Mutt.
The Global Mutt from WNY Brewing in my hometown of Bellingham, Washington. So my beer podcast is about Cascadia, which is the Pacific Northwest here, which is British Columbia, Washington, and Oregon. So I got a lot of territory to cover, but this is the area that I grew up in. And it's just kind of a project of me kind of reconnecting with my homeland, as it were, because I've lived overseas for a number of years. WNY Brewing in Bellingham. Bellingham has had a huge beer explosion. We now have more breweries in Bellingham per capita than Bend, Oregon.
Nice. Is it like per capita, though? Is like we have 15 people living here, so...
Well, I mean, it is it is kind of small, but I think now they opened number 11, so has just opened up. So this is the Global Malt. This is a Baltic porter. It's won bronze at the Australian International Beer Awards. It won bronze medal at the Best of Craft Beer Awards. Did the silver medal at the Brussels Beer Challenge. I think it even won at JBF.
Huh. Okay, it says a Baltic porter brewed with coffee beans, cocoa, and chocolate. Mm-hmm. And all of those things are coming out.
Yeah.
It's got a little bit of a bitterness to it, which you would expect with the chocolate and the coffee. American barley and hops, African cocoa, local chocolate, coffee beans sourced direct from the farmers in Brazil, magically blended together. I like it. Sounds like Lucky Charms. This is really nice.
This is from the brew team, Chad and Colleen, husband and wife.
Uh-huh.
They traveled the world together, wandered around, and that's where WNY Brewing comes from to some extent. I talked to them in episode 7. They moved to the Pacific Northwest. They really like Bellingham, and they were the 4th brewery to open a few years ago, right when things started kicking off for all the breweries that have been opening up there. So they haven't been open that long in the grand scheme of things, but they're kind of considered veterans. But they do so many great beers there. One of my favorites that they do is the Uncommon California Common. That's a great go-to beer. I love the Global Mutt as well. That's just it's just a great beer.
You know what this whole experience feels like? It's like when you're sitting with somebody and somebody pulls out their phone and says, "Have you seen this on YouTube?" Right, and they bring it out and then they show it.
Yeah.
And the other person goes, "Oh, have you seen this on YouTube?" That's what this feels like.
But I like this. I mean, like, I was thinking about this and I'm like, man, this is really weird that what we're going to be doing, just calling each other and trying each other's regional beers. But no, like I'm quite impressed with everything so far, and glad you enjoy. So
you've got my favorite coming up next, but I want to talk about the Global Mutt some more. I would drink this in the morning. This would be my morning beer.
Right.
I'm not saying I have a morning beer because I teach. I'm an elementary school teacher, so I don't actually have a morning beer.
Well, I don't know. Maybe some days.
During a Bills game, because they start at 1 o'clock over here. So tailgating starts a.m. Normally it'll start the night before, but it'll start at 6 a.m., 7 a.m. You need a breakfast beer, and this would easily be the breakfast beer. It doesn't taste. I'm going to call KBS gimmicky. It doesn't taste gimmicky. There's no syrup to it. There's no bacon flavors to it. No breakfast flavors to it. But yeah, no, it does the same in flavor that I like my coffee to do. Slightly bitter, not too bitter. It's nice. The Pilsner is still my favorite of the 3.
All right. What am I opening next?
You're opening up 42 North.
All right. Now, 42 North, I'm excited about this one because it's in a can.
It is.
And there's been some opinions online in the last few days that I've seen in the beer scene about how East Coast IPAs are starting to take over.
Yeah.
In terms of popularity.
I don't know if I would call this an East Coast IPA.
Okay. Would you put this under like a West Coast style or the East Coast style?
I would put it under a West Coast style. I don't know if Clay would say the same thing. Clay is the head brewer over there, the chief brewing officer, the CBO. But it's an American IPA. I would call it more towards West Coast than East Coast.
So tell me about 42 North.
So the name comes from the parallel that we're on, the latitude. And being a Douglas Adams fan, to know that I'm living within the 42nd parallel makes me really happy. The Hitchhiker's Guide reference. We used to be a hop growing region in New York State at like the turn of the century, not 20th or not 21st, but 20th. I believe, I might be wrong, but I've got the book here. Buffalo Beer, The History of Brewing in the Nickel City by Ethan Cox of Community Beer Works. Anyway, we were the leading producer of hops in the country prior to Prohibition, when either because of production going down, farms went out of business, or something happened to crops. We had a drought, just didn't come back. So people are starting to grow hops again around here, but they are paying homage to the parallel that we are on as a brewing destination. Also have been and still are a grain city. Being on the Great Lakes with the Erie Canal, being a port in the early 1900s where things could come from the ocean to the Great Lakes, grain was huge here. We have grain elevators littered throughout our city. The grain elevator was invented here in 1914 by Joseph Dart. I think 1914. Should look that up. I used to do the tours for the waterfront.
So your hops went away, and us here in Cascadia have kind of taken that over with the Yakima Valley.
Right?
So, yeah.
I mean, to put it one way, I have Cascade hops growing in my garden. I don't have buffalo hops. I don't have... trying to think of any mountain ranges we have around here. We don't have any mountains in Buffalo. Boston Hills hops, I suppose.
Well, does anybody have seeds from those original crops?
That's a really great question that I got to ask somebody. I'm going to write that down.
Yeah.
And find some hop growers to ask that exact question. That's a great question. On the malt episode, Bob Johnson was talking about a local hop plant where he is that's been growing for over 100 years.
Maybe you need to call up those guys in Svalbard at the World Seed Bank there and see if you can get some seeds if they have it.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I can't imagine. That seems like too long ago, pre-prohibition.
There's strange things in people's attics. There might be a mason jar filled with it, you know? So, yeah.
It's true. Stranger things have been found in attics.
Yep. All right, so I've cracked the can on this thing. The entire room just smells so floral now.
Yeah, this is my favorite IPA.
Oh,
is 42
man,
North.
This smells fantastic.
And Clay Keel, who is the chief brewing officer, was brought up here. 42 North has only been open for I think it's going on 2 years now, or it will be 2 years this winter. He was brought up from Tampa. He grew up with a winery in the family. His dad was a winemaker and grape grower. So then they branched off into beers, into doing beers, and they opened up a tap room. And if you go down to Tampa, and the next time I go to Orlando, I'm going to see if I can find some. I can't remember the name of the beer, but I'm going to see if I can find some of the beer, because it's his beer, but he's no longer brewing it. So they brought him up here. And it seems like, and I don't want to talk for him, but it seems like he's really focused on doing beers very well. Not that experimentation isn't important in 42 North, but if you're looking for the blueberry wheat, that might not be the one from 42 North. They're going to make sure that they have a really stellar pilsner, that their process is correct, that they are really testing it and making sure that it's a good beer.
And I got to say, this is an excellent, excellent IPA. I haven't had a so-called East Coast IPA, but I think this would go into the category. From my understanding is it's meant to be very tropical fruits.
Yeah.
Very, very juicy, as it were. And that's the thing about this beer. Nothing hangs around too long, but it's very easy to drink. So
it's not cloudy.
No.
I think there's a number of late hop additions. I think they still get a good amount of the bitterness from a bittering addition.
But the bitterness isn't overpowering.
No, certainly. And again, it's my favorite.
I can see why.
And I was really happy that they started canning it.
Oh, yeah. Borderland IPA.
And at the tap room, every once in a while, they have an oak aged version of it,
Ooh.
which is not aged for long,
Yeah.
but it adds a little bit of other flavors to it. It mellows it out a little bit, which is really, really nice too. But it's still really tropical
Yeah.
and fruity.
So we've done 3 beers there. You know what? I think out of the 3 that I've tried here from Buffalo, I'm going to have to go with the Irish Red as my favorite.
I'm going to let Johnny know.
Yeah, there we go.
I'm going for some more Pilsner.
Because that's your overall favorite? That's what you're going for?
Overall favorite, yeah.
The Red Pilsner.
Again, it's light. I would drink a lot of it.
But we have a bonus beer. You sent me a bonus beer.
We do, because I have 22, 44, 66 ounces, a little bit less than 66 ounces here. So I wanted to make sure that you got something similar. And I sent you the Bisontennial double IPA, which admittedly I've never had.
Ooh. So this is going to be an experience for both of us then.
It's from Flying Bison. So Flying Bison was started by Tim Herzog, who also started one of the oldest homebrew clubs in the area, if not the Sultans of Swig. And I've had the opportunity to...
That is such a great name.
Right?
Such a great name.
I've sat down and I've drank homebrews with Tim Herzog, and he pulls out his notebooks, just notebooks and notebooks of recipes and notes on things that he's made. And he eventually started Flying Bison. They are one of the oldest breweries here in Buffalo since the last of the Prohibition, because Buffalo is a huge beer city, a huge German beer city with a big German population. The first, what's the word I'm looking for? Business ever in Buffalo was a pub back in the early 1800s, which was burned down. This is a nice Pilsner, which was burned down during the War of 1812.
Oh, okay.
That's a great question. So you're out on the West Coast. The War of 1812, is that something that gets talked about?
You need to learn it for a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of a big deal around here. So.
Yeah. No. We have several other conflicts.
Yeah, right?
Out here. Yeah.
Like the Clive and Bundy and them.
Well, the whole Louisiana Purchase and...
Oh, the Louisiana Purchase?
Yeah, the Louisiana Purchase, did the whole West Coast there and the Oregon Trail.
Oh.
So
there was a video game. It was Dysentery.
Oh, yeah. I always hated that when playing Oregon Trail. Always the dysentery. And then you get to a damn river, too, and then you go a little too deep.
Yep. Nope.
With the with the cart there. Wipe you out.
So did you taste it? Let me know how it is.
Oh, yes. This, I mean, it's an excellent double IPA. It's 8%. Doesn't even taste like it.
Well, that's good.
Which is scary. The first thing that comes to mind when I'm having this, it's like hard candy.
Ah, okay.
So like a lemon candy, like a lemon hard candy.
Huh.
Not Jolly Rancher flavor, but like those generic like lemon lollipops kind of.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Okay, now I'm curious. Now I got to pick up a bottle.
Yeah, you do. But this is why I don't review beers on my show, because
yeah, no, me neither.
I just sound like a lunatic. So,
so yeah, Flying Bison. The picture on there of the mustache.
The mustache, yes,
is a Tim Herzog thing. It's like a famous mustache. If you look up Tim Herzog,
okay, it's his handlebar mustache.
Yeah.
All right.
Herzog of Flying Bison. That's his facial hair, and it's iconic around here. I wonder if he's ever tried to shave it. I struggled what to send you, because I wanted to send you. They have a Vienna lager, the Rusty Chain, which is probably my favorite just drinking beer. Similar to a Sam Adams, but better.
Yeah.
And I like Sam Adams. I'm not digging on him, but I like Rusty Chain more. And their Aviator Red, which is another red beer.
What is the town motto of Buffalo?
We're the city of good neighbors.
All right. Bellingham is the city of subdued excitement.
Is it really?
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Anything that has subdued in it, it's like we are this, but not so much.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Which kind of explains the character of things in the region, in the surrounding region. But yeah, I think I live up to that as well. The city of subdued excitement. So
excellent. Buffalo is a city of good neighbors, and I'll stand by that anytime. We look out for everybody. We have snowstorms frequently. Seems like maybe every 2 to 5 years we have a huge one that shuts things down for a while. Everyone's out there with their snowblowers. They're checking on their neighbors. They're doing other people's driveways. We have benefits all the time here for people. You walk into anywhere and there's posters for like 5 different benefits. Come to this benefit. This person is sick, needs help with medical expenses. Nice people here. Well, thank you very much.
Well, yeah. Well, no, thank you. I mean, these have been some excellent beers. And I mean, I think we were sending some messages back and forth saying, we thought we were a little conservative with our picks. But I think next time, I mean, I don't know. Do you want to do this again? I want to do this again.
Yeah, I tried to go with older breweries, like going chronological, with the exception of 42 North just being my favorite IPA.
I went with breweries that I've spoken to.
Yeah.
Kind of flagship beers from them. Yeah, those were my picks.
Excellent.
So I think next time when we do this, we'll just have to go crazy.
Yeah, sounds good.
We'll do the sours.
We'll do the fences.
We'll do. All right. Well, thank you, Scott.
No, thank you.
Big thanks to Scott for sharing his beers from Buffalo, New York. If you want to listen to Scott's podcast, you can head to WNYBrews.com. If you enjoyed this episode or other previous episodes, please leave us a review on iTunes. It really helps get this podcast series into as many ears as possible. I'll be back next episode talking to another brewery here in the Pacific Northwest. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this slightly different episode. But until next time, remember, support your local.